Hey everyone, thank you again for joining us for another episode of the Liverpool Connection podcast, Pub Chat. We're in Jono's backyard after a 2-1 victory over Chelsea. Jono, it's a good Sunday. We won our Sunday League 3-2. Liverpool wins 2-1. All we need now is your missus to make us a Sunday roast.
I'll get right on that.
She did make some good hash or whatever. What do you call that?
Breakfast hash or something. That was good post game.
Even though we ate that at like
refuel.
2 o'clock in the afternoon, it was still good. But hey, Liverpool back to first place. You know, the first game after international break, it's always a mixed bag, right? We don't know what's going to happen. And to play Chelsea, who's really an up and coming team, and for all the media accounts, like this is our first real test, right? And it was a test. It was a good game for the neutrals. I thought for you U.S. men's national team fans, the center ref John Brooks, he was just as good as our center back John Brooks was in their last time he played for us. You know, so not very good. That means not very good for you guys that aren't U.S. men's national team fans, but 2-1 victory at home at Anfield against Chelsea. And what we saw a stat today that they've only beaten us once in the last 13 games.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Well, it's interesting because I was hearing before the game about how, and they kind of have been close games, all of them.
And six draws.
And there were six draws too, so it does feel like everything's tight. But then again, it's like we haven't. We've lost once in 13.
Right.
That's I hadn't realized that either. So that's a pretty good record. But it was going into it. It was a tough game. And honestly, when Arsenal dropped points, the part of me is always like, this is where we probably also drop points because it seems like that's when we have dropped points when the other teams. And then City looked like they might actually drop points too. And the Jammy gets, managed to get a 95th minute winner. So I was like. I knew that right before our game started. I saw that they had scored that goal, and I was like, "This is going to be when we kind of probably screw up." But so we had to wait to watch, and it was always going to be a tough game. They're confident, I think, team in the last few games. Although still, I think they have issues. I mean, they probably still don't know exactly who they're playing, but they have some attacking talent that is dangerous. So it was going to be a tough game, and it proved to be.
For you that partake in Oktoberfest, I'm drinking a Karbach Oktoberfest beer, and one of my favorite times of the year, Oktoberfest season. Whether we're in Munich, I know you've been there before.
For Oktoberfest,
September,
but
But the Oktoberfest here in New Braunfels is next month.
That's true.
But so talking about Chelsea again, and they're a young team. You can see that they have good attacking flair, but I think they're just not professional enough yet to see through these big games, right? What the announcer said today is like again that Chelsea started the youngest lineup in the Premier League, and we're the fourth oldest. So you can kind of see the youthful exuberance, but also the naivety of being young, right? But I think it doesn't matter. They're going to spend another £1 billion, and half that team's not going to be there in 12 months anyway. But going back to Liverpool, so the lineup after the international break, McAllister had a little knock again. Jones comes into the midfield, and you guys that have been around the podcast, you guys know I'm a big Jones fan. Anyway, I just want to see him kick on, but something always happens. That he gets a knock, he gets an injury, the eye injury. It's like something happens all the time that keeps him from kicking on. Because I think, and I've said this before, he has all the tools, man. He has the pace, he has the close technical ball skills, right? He's strong on the ball, but sometimes he has to play. In Klopp's system, he had to play a little bit too defensively, and now he gets to push a little forward up, as we saw a couple of times today. The goal, he was forward. The penalty that wasn't called, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. He was forward. The penalty that was called, he's center in the penalty box again, right? So it's like he has a little bit more license to roam. Across the back line, we have the original or the regulars, right? Trent, Kanate, Van Dyke, and Robertson. Obviously, Kelleher's between the pipes due to injury to Allison. Um, if you're gonna have a backup keeper,
Yeah.
you might as well have Kelleher, right?
Yeah. And, he didn't honestly have a ton to do. He had a
Yeah.
couple of, I remember a couple of punches and things like that. Um, he didn't, I don't feel like he had much chance on the goal.
Yeah,
Jackson
yeah.
puts it right in the corner. But yeah, he's a, he's the most solid backup I think there is in the Premier League right now, and I'm comfortable with him in there. And then that back line, I thought it was pretty good throughout. It felt like we were talking. Felt like Trent was um, not able to go forward as much, and it was subdued. But I thought actually he put in a pretty decent defensive display. I think he and Robbo were pretty good. The only real mistake that the back line made, I feel like, was maybe between the centre backs. They got a little bit, But it was a good run by Jackson, and you can't be perfect on the whole game. But other than that, I thought they defended Chelsea's attackers pretty well. I saw afterwards, I was looking up, and the chances created for them, um, the most in the game was actually from Neto, and he only came on in like 70 something, I think, or something. And he's a very dangerous player. But other than that, I think Robbo and Trent did a good job keeping their wide players, you know, from creating too much.
And I thought, and we talked about this during the games, like because Jadon Sancho was over there,
Right.
Trent
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
couldn't move up, right?
Yeah.
And then when Nato came in again,
Right.
Nato was probably their most dangerous outlet coming that way. And I think Trent defensively did very well, but also it stopped him from being a dynamic
Sure.
offensive person. But
And
it
also
also,
after the game, Slot mentioned that Trent had some kind of an issue,
Mhm.
but also Bradley wasn't even
Right.
available, so Trent had to play. So it's kind of understandable that he wasn't able to be as expansive going forward, but he did a good job defensively.
But conversely, we also did the same thing to them against Reece James, right? Reece James
Mm-hmm.
wasn't able to pull up. I mean, Cole Palmer, as he hardly did anything in this game, which was surprising because he's really their catalyst, transitioning from back to front, and he's always a goal threat. And he didn't really do much today, and testament to that left, like they were
Well, Slot gave
mentioning
credit to Jones
to
for
Jones for
mostly
really,
for
you
keeping him
know,
quiet.
closing him down, but it was just interesting. I didn't think Gravenberch in the first half didn't. I didn't think that was his best game. I think Casado kind of showed why we were looking at him because I think he really played well.
I think
I think
Casado,
we just had better parts surrounding him.
that was the one thing they did really well was they Casado and Lavia found space
Labia.
between
Labia.
found space between the lines well and showed and got on the turn a little bit like McAllister and Gravenberch do for us pretty well. But so I do think they obviously what they did do well. Chelsea, they had the ball a good amount. It was like they had the majority possession. But for all that, and the commentators getting excited by that, they really still didn't create much. We were good as a back four. I think the midfield just a little bit allowed them a little too much time to turn. But they're good players. They're going to do that a little bit. And Soboslai, it was a mixed game for him. I thought a little bit. He felt like he was kind of turning around, running around a lot. I thought overall Gravenberch did okay, maybe better second half than first.
Yeah, I thought
But
so.
I thought Jones was superb throughout. And I think, there's a couple of moments where he wiggled out of, well, maybe a moment in the first half where he wiggled away from two guys. And I think people that maybe didn't see him uh, play when he was in the academy so much as an attacking player and don't realize he really still has all that technical
Yeah.
close control ability. Sometimes, yeah, he can hold on to it. Like that was the ball that there was a ball where we had the attack where Salah just drifted offside and crosses it for Gakpo to put in. Right, was it Gakpo? and he'd just gone offside. But that's probably a bit more on Salah than Jones, to be fair. But Jones is a great attacking player, and he has great skills. And I think people maybe who have just seen him play since Klopp tried to readjust him to be a more patient player, I think that I hope people will, just kind of be patient with him because he's got that. He's super patient in the box. Why he was in the position he was in to win that penalty, I'm not really sure. And again, he was a little too patient. And if he had just towed that underneath the keeper, he would probably either he scores or he does get the penalty. But he just hesitates and doesn't make any play in the ball, and then gets cleaned out. But the keeper got the slightest of touches. So
Hey, I mean, obviously, we all know the situation with Saliba yesterday with Arsenal. So we had a similar kind of situation today. Initially, I was like, "Oh, there's cover," but then we watched the replay, and
right,
there was no cover.
right.
So, in your opinion, that should have been a red card.
I think so. When you watch it again, it's if anything, it's more deliberate of a foul because I think Saliba's just kind of trying to jump and he catches him. Sure, it's a foul, but um, in this case, yeah, they were probably like maybe 2 yards behind, and so Jota is gone. He's gone 1-on-1, and I don't know why they didn't review it on that. There was a lot of weird decisions in this game, not necessarily all that for us or all against us. I just thought Brooks was. I mean, Slot. I was pleased that in his post match he kind of made reference to it because there was one. I can't remember exactly what it was, but real late in extra time, which for some reason 7 minutes came out of
When they
nowhere.
called Nunez for that foul on the shoulder,
Right, right.
and it was not a foul.
On some crazy stuff. And there was some stuff that, I'm not going to dispute that Nunes deserved his yellow. I'm not going to dispute certain things. But even the penalty he gave for us, like, okay, it was rightfully overturned. I think we agreed on that, right? Because the keeper gets. So I wouldn't criticize him too much on that one because it was hard to see in the moment whether he got a little nick on it. But he was just. Like, he gave a foul for Salah for getting his usual wrestling. And then there was one later on where the defender's got his arms all draped over him and just pulling him and stuff. And there's nothing.
Isn't it?
And I'm like,
Yeah.
what are you watching?
So inconsistent. One of the highlights of this team, I believe, is that Gapco started on the left, right? He didn't have his best game.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, not as impactful as it has been. To be able to bring in Diaz, right? And we'll talk about Jota having to come off. Hopefully it's nothing long term because we definitely need him, and he's had his history of injuries, obviously. But to be able to bring Nunez on, right? Trent comes off. We got to bring Gomez in, who I thought played very well defensively. A couple loose passes out of the back, but he shut down Neto.
Yeah.
And I think that was
and then Cuckoo.
and Cuckoo, right? And they did the job, and I think, and we talked about this before. I think what bringing in a new coach that's outside of this ecosystem of Liverpool, and he can come in and say, "Hey, look, I'm gonna manage your minutes.
Yeah,
we're gonna be fresh at the end. You're gonna have to come off and." Obviously, the first few games when Trent was coming off and Salah was coming off, and they were all pissed. I think they're starting to understand. Like, there's a lot of games to play, right?
Yeah, and we got to stay fit. And he reinforced in his post match that I think the one thing I've noticed that he's been, if anything, slightly critical of the way that Liverpool has been in the last few seasons. He's pointing out that, hey, we didn't handle being in Champions League and being in Europe and being in the Premier League so well like the last couple of seasons. I think he thinks he's got a bit of a solution to that, and so far it seems to be working. Yeah, Gakpo, I agree. He wasn't bad, but he wasn't really growing that great. I think Diaz came in and did a good job of again winning fouls and getting us out of tight positions. I do want to talk about Salah. I thought he was.
Yeah,
we thought
about him, Jono.
we were saying the first 10 minutes we were like, oh, he's kind of which he does sometimes start a bit slow, but honestly, he was phenomenal for the rest of the game. I mean, the ball for Jones puts his hand up. You can see on the replay he calls for it, and it's a beautiful ball. It's exactly what Salah.
He loves that outside of the foot pass. Now, doesn't he?
I mean, just there were many, many great things he did throughout that game. And it was a great cross. He was offside, but it was a great cross to the back post for the goal that was ruled out. He's just he had a yeah, he was outstanding today, I thought. I mean, Joe's man of the match for me, but I
Yeah.
thought Salah was good.
I think Joe's man of the match for me as well, but I know there's a lot of shout for Salah to be man of the match, which you can't argue too much. He had the assist and the penalty kick, and dispatching it and um, with confidence,
Yeah.
and so that's always good. And just the what I liked also is like when Jota did have to come off and Nunes came in.
What did you think
That
of Nunez's?
I, dude, his overall play, I thought it was good. I mean, he made it difficult for Chelsea, right? And I don't think he had a lot of opportunity to actually score a goal, to be honest with you.
Right.
But he was pressing, he was getting involved with their center backs. Obviously, he earned his yellow. I think they probably should have got a couple yellows on him as well. But I mean, he was active, and you could just tell the Anfield crowd loves him. And I know some people on social media would be like, "Oh, he doesn't. The output is not there for like goals and assists." And that may be true for the season. It hasn't happened yet 'cause he has not played enough. But man, he wears his heart on his sleeve, and he wants to compete. And in my opinion, we're a better team when he's part of the team. I'm not saying he should start over Jota, but he's a great person to bring off the bench to add a little bit of energy. And as long as he knows his role on the team, and I think we're going to need all these
Yeah.
players with all these games.
And like you said, I don't think he really got any service to actually score a goal. But I do think if you take away the silly foul right, and it's only because it's right after the ref had told
Right,
him,
right.
quit it, that he gets the yellow for. But everything else he did, I think, was in that respect was really good. Like that number five was going, the center back was going right through the
Yeah,
back of
definitely.
him over and over again. I don't know how he didn't get a yellow, but even the one where he kind of falls over, I think he just kind of does it. It's not like he's being losing his mind
Mm-hmm.
or anything. He was calm about it. He was just like, "Hey, you shoved me. I'm gonna fall over." It's like he didn't fuss about it. He didn't whine to the ref. So I thought he kept his cool and he tracked back a lot and he won a number of balls where he came back and
Mm-hmm.
won the ball, dished it out, and got back up front. And you know, in the situation we were in, where we weren't creating a ton anyway. I mean, how many chances did we set up for Jota? Really? I mean, he
Not
he
really.
made his own where he turned the guy one time and the guy crushed him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but other than that, I think we didn't really. It wasn't the nine's
Mm-hmm.
fault today that we didn't.
Right, right.
But that's fine if we're creating chances where the midfielders are running through, and
Mm-hmm.
that was just the way the game went today. And we create. I think Soboslai a little bit, maybe a little disappointed because
Mm-hmm.
Jones was getting in those positions.
Mm-hmm.
Soboslai, I mean, he worked hard again. I
Yeah.
don't want to pile on the guy because it seems like some people are getting
Right, right.
over the top about it. And there's a reason that the coach is keeping him on the field because we
Mm-hmm.
were talking about who would you sub to bring Maka in, right?
Right.
And it was a hard choice because it was like Jones is playing well and he hasn't had that many minutes, so
Mm-hmm.
he should be fit. Gravenberg, second half, I thought it was really playing well still
Mm-hmm.
too.
Yeah, I thought so.
And so maybe you Soboslai, but he's still working hard. It's just his it's weird because the thing that you think about him being really good at is the attacking thing, the shots that he does for Hungary.
Yeah.
But he's not quite getting that for Liverpool yet. But I think he'll probably come.
Yeah, I think so. I, yeah, I think so. So I mean, he does the running, right? He runs a
Yeah,
lot and he gets into positions, and sometimes decision making is a little off. But I mean, still a young player, but
right.
another one of those players that it, I think we're better with him on the team starting because he does fill that right sided fullback, but or halfback. I mean, I want to give a shout out to your compatriot. I think Robbo played a great game. I mean, he was up and down the pitch like vintage Robbo. He played great defensively. Just the combinations he was playing, and I know that there was a time there like, oh man, like he's losing form. We need a left back, but I thought he was. He was outstanding today.
I thought he got burned early on by what was the right forward? Maka something. I can't remember his name, but he's 2-footed and he's good, and he got beat by
Yeah,
him down the side. But then after that, I think he settled down. He figured him out. He showed him, which side he wanted him to be on, and I agree. I think he got up and down. I think um, a bit more than Trent. I mean Trent.
yeah, yeah.
But again, like I said, we didn't know Trent was sick, so he wasn't able to get up as much. But I thought both fullbacks were good defensively, and it was good to see. That's one more goal, but you know, that's 3 goals in the league, man. And how many games have we played? 10.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when they were saying that the next closest was Chelsea, right? With 8.
Right.
So now they give it up 10. We've given up 3.
Right.
So,
yeah. It's great to see how solid we look. It didn't really feel like solid the whole game, right? Maybe, but if you really look at the chances that Chelsea created, there's the one where Nkunku almost gets on the back of a Neto cross, but again, that's a tough one because it's way to the back stick and it's flying fast. So if that's the best chances you're going to get, that's not bad at all, right?
Yeah, I don't recall Kelleher really making a save. I mean, that's like, they scored their goal, but after that, I mean, you said that they had 5 shots on target. I mean, they were right at him.
They had 2 shots.
2 shots on
target.
target.
We had 5.
Yeah, so I mean,
so
they were
2
right
on target.
At Kelleher, really.
I'm trying to think. There was the goal, and then I don't remember.
There was another one right at him.
Right, probably down his gut.
Yeah. So I mean,
cannot complain, Steve. It's good times.
No, it's good times. I'm just saying that it's like, as much as the announcers and Steve Warnock wants to be so.
Yeah.
He knows he loves Liverpool. We
Right.
all know he loves Liverpool. Everybody else knows he loves Liverpool. So he has to kind of go extreme to the other side. I'm like, come on, dude.
Yeah, there's a number
You gotta be objective a little bit.
There's a number of 50-50 decisions where it was like, come on, Steve, that was not a good tackle.
He could be in the Kingsman 4, right? When he wears those spectacles, he looks just like, what's his face? But anyway, but 3 points.
Yes, top of the league, and 4 points above
So this
Arsenal.
is really the beginning of this stretch, right, of games.
Yeah.
RB Leipzig, Arsenal, Brighton, Aston Villa. But hey, it's good to be on top, Jono.
It is. I love to
That's
be
what she said. Anyway,
so everybody's saying, well, you haven't played anyone. Well, we played someone, and Arsenal played nobody, and they they didn't win, and we did.
This is the Premier League, man. I mean, you can say, dude, City barely won today in injury time,
right,
against Wolves, who were at near the bottom, right? So it's the Premier League. So when people say discount your victories, I think it's kind of off base, because this is the league that the bottom could beat the top. No other league is like that, right?
Right.
So you can't discount victories against people in the bottom half of the table.
Well, except Ipswich, Everton. They were pretty terrible.
Oh, yeah, maybe so. But anyway, top of the league, we're going to Wednesday against RB Leipzig, and just keep it going, right?
Yep.
All right.
Up the Reds.
Up the Reds. Subscribe, put on your notifications, like our channel, and we will give you I don't know if we'll have a preview for the Champions League, but we'll definitely do a post-game pod after that. Cheers.